knew she was breaking the law. She also knew she did not care anymore. For 300 years she had watched the Galactic Unity Council do nothing. They talked. They debated. They formed committees to study committees. Meanwhile, the universe waited to be explored, and the ancient portal devices gathered dust in locked vaults. She was young by her species standards, barely 200 years old, with soft feathers and large golden eyes that could see in complete darkness. Her people, they were known for patience, had none. The portal device hummed beneath her fingers. It was old, older than the council itself, built by a species that had vanished long before recorded history. The coordinates were locked to a specific location, a place the council called Quarantine Zone 447. Nobody remembered why it was quarantined. The records were sealed. That alone made curious. She pressed the activation sequence. The machine screamed. Light exploded from its center, tearing a hole in reality itself. Felt something pull her forward, and before she could stop herself, she fell through. Park was tired. He had worked 18 hours in the emergency room. His feet hurt. His back hurt. His eyes burned from staring at charts and screens. All he wanted was to go home, eat leftover rice, and sleep for 100 years. He was walking past a convenience store when the sky broke open. There was no other way to describe it. One moment, he was looking at a normal Soul Street. The next moment, a circle of white light appeared in the air, crackling with energy that made his hair stand up. A figure tumbled out of it and crashed onto the sidewalk. Froze around him, people screamed and ran. Cars stopped. Someone dropped their phone. A child started crying. The figure on the ground was not human. It had feathers instead of hair. Its arms bent at wrong angles. Its eyes, now flickering open, were huge and golden, like an owl's. Blue liquid leaked from a wound on its side. Blue blood, thought, it has blue blood. His training took over. He ran to the creature and knelt beside it. He did not think about the fact that it was an alien. He did not think about the portal still humming behind him. He thought only about the wound, the blood loss, the way the creature's breathing was becoming shallow. He pulled off his jacket and pressed it against the wound. "Stay with me," he said, even though he knew the creature could not understand him. "Stay with me." The creature looked at him with those golden eyes. It said something in a language that sounded like birds singing. Then it passed out. Did not move. He kept pressure on the wound and waited for help to arrive. Around him, the world went mad. People filmed with their phones. Police sirens wailed in the distance. News helicopters appeared overhead, but stayed focused on his patient. That was how humanity met the galaxy, with a tired doctor kneeling on a sidewalk trying to save a life. 6,000 light-years away, alarms exploded across the research station on 7. Arrived within the hour. He was tall and thin, with a body like a praying mantis and eyes that reflected no light. His species, they were known for their calm. They never panicked. They never raised their voices. Today did both. "What have you done?" he demanded, staring at the readings on the portal device. "What coordinates did you use?" The technicians checked the logs. One of them went pale. "It's Zone 447. She opened a portal to Zone 447. Went very still. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Get me the council, all of them, now." "What's in Zone 447? Turned to look at the portal, still open, still humming with power. On the other side he could see a strange world. Tall buildings, bright lights, and thousands of creatures standing in a crowd, watching something on the ground. "Humans," said. "Zone 447 contains humans." The technician looked confused. "I've never heard of them. Are they dangerous?" Laughed, but there was no humor in it. 12,000 years ago, our scouts found a small planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. The dominant species had just learned to farm. They were primitive, weak. They should have been nothing. What happened? Our scouts watched them for 100 years. In that time, the humans went from farming with sticks to building cities with millions of people. They went from walking to riding animals to building machines that moved on their own. They developed weapons that could kill from a distance. They created art, music, mathematics, philosophy. In 100 years. The technician swallowed. That's fast. That's terrifying, corrected. We ran projections. If they continued at that rate, they would develop space travel within a few thousand years. They would spread across the galaxy like fire. And unlike other species, humans bond with anything. They would make allies everywhere. They would be unstoppable. So the council quarantined them. We sealed every route to their planet. We erased their coordinates from every database. We made it illegal to even speak of them. For 12,000 years, we kept them contained, pointed at the portal. And now that fool has let them out. Lived in an apartment 3 blocks from where the portal opened. She was a software engineer who spent her free time training in mixed martial arts. She was practical, calm, and very hard to surprise. But when she looked out her window and saw a hole in reality floating above the street, she was surprised. She grabbed her phone and ran outside. The crowd was massive. Police had set up barriers, but everyone was pushing to see, squeezed through until she reached the front. There on the ground, a man in a doctor's coat was treating some kind of alien creature. The creature was speaking, its voice weak but clear. The sounds were strange, like nothing had ever heard. Then her phone buzzed. Her translation app had activated on its own. It was trying to process the alien's speech. Most of it came out as errors and strange symbols, but a few words appeared on screen. Help, friend, thank you. Stared at her phone. Then she stared at the alien. Then she pushed through the barrier and walked toward the doctor. Hey, she said, I think I can understand it. Looked up at her with exhausted eyes. Then tell it to stay calm. Tell it we're going to help. Knelt beside them. She held up her phone and spoke slowly. You are safe. We will help you. Do not be afraid. The alien looked at her. Its golden eyes were full of fear and pain and something else, something like hope. Thank you, it whispered, and this time understood every word. Above them the portal crackled and hummed. Around them the world watched and waited. Humanity's first day in the galaxy had begun. 3 weeks had passed since the portal opened. Was recovering in a hospital bed, surrounded by machines she did not recognize. Human doctors visited her every day, checking her wounds, bringing her strange food, and asking questions through translation devices that improved each time. She still could not believe they had saved her. In the galaxy, when a stranger fell at your feet, you walked away. Resources were limited. Time was precious. Helping someone who could not help you in return was considered foolish. But the human doctor, the one they called, had ruined his coat to stop her bleeding. He had stayed with her for hours, refusing to leave even when soldiers arrived with weapons. When they tried to take her away for study, he had stood in front of her and said, "She's my patient. You go through me." Had never seen anything like it. She was still trying to understand it. On the other side of the portal, a delegation was preparing. Adjusted his robes and tried to stay calm. Behind him stood 12 representatives from the Galactic Unity Council, each one more nervous than the last. They were about to step through a portal and meet the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Remember, said, we are here to assess the situation. Nothing more. We observe, we report. We do not engage. Commander Telos, a large reptilian soldier from the hegemony faction, made a sound of disgust. We should burn the portal and be done with it. These creatures are a threat. That is not your decision to make, replied coldly. It is not mine either. We follow protocol. They stepped through. The world on the other side was chaos. There were humans everywhere, thousands of them, held back by barriers and soldiers. Machines flew overhead, capturing images. The noise was incredible, voices and engines and music all mixed together. But what caught attention was the building in front of him. 3 weeks ago, this had been an empty plaza. Now it held a structure made of glass and metal, clearly built just for this occasion. Inside, he could see screens displaying alien text, human scientists working at desks, and in the center, his own equipment being taken apart piece by piece. "They built this in 3 weeks," one of the delegates whispered. "They also decoded 40% of our written language," another added, her voice shaking. "One of their scientists published a paper about it yesterday." Felt something cold settle in his stomach. Fear. He was feeling fear. A human woman approached them. She was young, with short black hair and calm eyes. She bowed slightly, a gesture recognized from his research as a sign of respect. "Welcome to Earth," she said. I am the lead researcher here. Please follow me." She led them inside, past rooms filled with technology and humans working at incredible speed. Watched them typing on machines, arguing over data, drinking from small cups that smelled strange and bitter. "What is that drink?" he asked. "Coffee," replied. "It helps us stay awake." "How long have these people been working?" "Most of them, about 30 hours straight." "Stopped walking, 30 hours without rest." Shrugged. "We'll sleep when we're done. This is more important." The delegation was led to a large room where human leaders waited. There were people in military uniforms, people in suits, people who looked tired and worried and determined. At the front stood an older man with hair and hard eyes. "I am Colonel Lee," he said. "Retired, they called me back for this. I will be speaking for Earth today." Nodded. "I am of the Galactic Unity. We are here to explain your situation." "Our situation?" "Yes," took a deep breath. 12,000 years ago, our scouts discovered your planet. They observed your species for 100 years. What they saw concerned us." "Concerned you how?" "You adapt too quickly. Other species take thousands of years to develop new technologies. You do it in decades. You form emotional bonds with anything, including species that want to harm you. You have a concept called spite that does not translate into any known language." Raised an eyebrow. "Spite?" "Yes, the willingness to harm yourself in order to harm an enemy. We have no word for it. The concept is alien to us." He paused. "You also refuse to surrender. In all our records, we have never found a species that continues fighting when victory is impossible. Except humans. You fight anyway, and sometimes against all logic you win." The room was silent. "So you locked us away," said. "For 12,000 years, you kept us trapped on our own planet because you were afraid of what we might do." "Yes. And now?" Spread his hands. "Now the portal is open. The quarantine is broken. The council must decide what to do with you." A young man in the back of the room laughed. Everyone turned to look at him. He was barely more than a student, with messy hair and a nervous smile. "Sorry," he said. "It's just, you're scared of us. Have you seen us? We can barely agree on anything. We fight wars over land and religion and resources. We almost destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons. We're a mess." "What is your name?" asked. "Han Minyu. I'm just a university student. They needed someone normal to show you what regular humans are like." "And what are regular humans like?" Minyu thought about it. "We drink coffee even though it's technically poison. We keep animals in our houses that could kill us. We climb mountains and jump out of airplanes for fun. We run marathons, which means we run until our bodies almost break just to prove we can." He shrugged. "We're kind of crazy, honestly." The delegation exchanged looks. "Perhaps," said carefully, "we should discuss the options for moving forward." The discussion lasted for hours. The council wanted to seal the portal. Earth refused. The council threatened consequences. Earth pointed out that they had already reverse-engineered several alien devices and would share the technology with the entire planet if threatened. Finally called for a vote. The delegation gathered privately, their voices low and worried. But before the vote could happen, a human soldier rushed into the room. "We've detected ships," she said, "on the other side of the portal, a whole fleet of them moving into position." Turned to Commander Telos. The reptilian commander's face showed nothing but new. "The hegemony," he said, "you called them." Telos stood tall. "The council is weak. Someone must protect the galaxy from these creatures." Colonel walked to the window and looked at the sky. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he turned back to the room. "Tell your fleet something for me," he said. "We see them, we're not afraid, and if they want a fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget." He smiled and felt that cold fear again. "Now," continued, "shall we talk about an alliance instead?" Commander Telos stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crushing Dawn, and watched the blue planet turn slowly below. It was beautiful, he admitted. Soft clouds, green land, blue water, a gentle world for a species that was anything but gentle. Behind him, his fleet waited, 50 warships, each one carrying enough firepower to burn a continent. The hegemony had conquered 100 worlds with less. "Open a channel," Telos ordered, "all frequencies." His voice echoed across Earth, broadcast from every radio and television and phone on the planet. "People of Earth, I am Commander Telos of the hegemony. Your existence threatens galactic peace. You have two choices. Surrender all technology, accept our protection, and live as a servant species, or refuse and watch your world burn. You have one day to decide." He cut the transmission and smiled. This would be easy. On Earth, the response was immediate and chaotic. Governments argued. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to negotiate. Emergency meetings happened in every country. Military forces mobilized. People panicked, prayed, and prepared. In Seoul, Colonel Lee stood in the command center they had built near the portal. Around him, screens showed troop movements, satellite data, and news broadcasts from around the world. "We can't win," a general said. "Their technology is too advanced. One of their ships could destroy an entire city." "Maybe," replied, "maybe not." "What do you mean?" Pointed at a screen showing his latest report. "Our scientists have been studying their equipment for 2 months. We know things about them now. We know their shields have frequencies. We know their hulls have weak points. We know they've never fought a species that truly wanted to hurt them." "That's not enough." "Then let's make it enough." Picked up a microphone. "Open a channel, same frequencies they used." His voice went out to the stars. "Commander Telos, this is Colonel Lee speaking for Earth. You want us to surrender? Let me explain something to you. For our entire history we have been fighting. We fought animals. We fought nature. We fought each other. Every weapon you see pointed at the sky right now, we built those to kill each other. Imagine what we'll build to kill you." He paused. "You have one day, then we're coming for you." Telos laughed when he heard the message. His officers laughed too. These primitive creatures thought they could threaten the hegemony. It was adorable. "Send a scout ship," he ordered. "Fly over their largest city, show them what real power looks like." The scout ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. It was sleek and silver, designed to inspire fear. Its mission was simple: fly low, activate weapons displays, and remind the humans that they were nothing. It never completed its mission. The first missile came from the ground, a human weapon that should have bounced off the shields like rain off a window. But this missile had been modified. His team had calculated the exact frequency needed to slip through the shield gap. The missile hit. Before the pilot could react, more attacks came. Fighter jets swarmed from every direction, firing weapons that had been adjusted overnight. Drones appeared, hundreds of them, civilian machines modified with explosives by people working in garages and basements. The scout ship's shields flickered, its hull cracked, warning lights filled the cockpit. The pilot tried to retreat, but a final drone flew directly into the engine. The ship limped back to the fleet trailing smoke and fire. Tellus stared at the damage report in disbelief. How? How did they know our weak points? Unknown, Commander, but our shields, they knew exactly where to hit. For the first time in his military career, Tellus felt uncertain. In the hospital, watched the battle on a human television, sat beside her, translating the news broadcasts. Your people are fighting, said, against the hegemony. We don't have a choice, replied. They want to enslave us, we'd rather die. Was quiet for a moment, then she made a decision. I can help, she said. I know hegemony technology. I know their shield codes, their communication systems, their fleet formations. I can give you everything. Stared at her. Why would you do that? You don't owe us anything. You saved my life. Your doctor stayed with me when he didn't have to. Your people took care of me when they had every reason to be afraid. Reached out and took's hand, a gesture she had learned from watching humans. I made a mistake opening that portal. Let me help fix it. Smiled, okay, let's go talk to some generals. The information provided changed everything. Within hours, every military force on Earth had new data, shield frequencies, hull compositions, communication codes, and fleet positions. Scientists worked without sleep, building new weapons, modifying existing ones, preparing for a fight that everyone said they couldn't win. Because humans didn't care what everyone said. The Battle of the Portal began at dawn. The hegemony fleet advanced, confident in their superiority. They had conquered species far more advanced than humans. This would be no different. They were wrong. Earth's defense was chaos. It was messy and improvised and completely against military doctrine. Ships attacked from random angles. Missiles came from unexpected directions. Soldiers did things that made no tactical sense. And that was exactly why it worked. The hegemony was used to predictable enemies. They had protocols for every situation, but humans didn't follow protocols. They followed instinct, courage, and spite. Tellus watched in horror as a human pilot, his cockpit on fire, flew directly toward the crushing dawn. The pilot was burning alive. He had to know he was going to die. But instead of ejecting, instead of trying to survive, he aimed for the bridge and accelerated. He was smiling. The impact killed the pilot and destroyed half the bridge. Tellus survived only because he was thrown clear of the explosion. All around him, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers kept fighting after losing limbs. Civilian ships rammed military vessels. People died, but they took enemies with them. Retreat, Tellus ordered, his voice shaking. All ships retreat. The hegemony fled. On Earth, people cheered. They celebrated in the streets, crying and laughing and holding each other. They had won. Against all odds, against all logic, they had won. In the command center, sat down heavily in a chair. His hands were shaking. So many people had died, so many sacrifices had been made. But they were still free. Found him there an hour later. Was with her, walking slowly on healing legs. We did it, said. We did, agreed. But this isn't over. The hegemony will come back. The council will have to respond. Everything is going to change. Stepped forward. Then let's make sure it changes for the better, together. Looked at the alien who had started all of this. A month ago, he would have seen an enemy. Now he saw a friend. Together, he said, and reached out to shake her hand. 1 year had passed since the Battle of the Portal. The galaxy would never be the same. Earth had changed. The portal was now surrounded by a massive complex of buildings, research centers, and diplomatic offices. Humans came and went through the gate every day, traveling to alien stations and distant worlds. And aliens came to Earth, though most of them did not stay long. They found humans terrifying. The first alien tourist group arrived in Seoul on a bright spring morning. They were a species of small, gentle creatures with blue skin and large black eyes. They had read about humans in news reports and wanted to see them for themselves. By noon, 3 of them had fainted. The first one collapsed when he saw a human woman walking a dog. "You keep predators as companions," he had screamed before passing out. The second one fainted during lunch when someone explained that the red sauce on their food was made from a plant that caused pain when eaten. "You eat pain for flavor," she had whispered, and then her eyes had rolled back. The third one simply watched a group of children playing in a park. They were pushing each other, falling down, getting up, and laughing. "They injure themselves for entertainment," he had said in a hollow voice. "They think damage is fun." Then he fainted too. The tour was cancelled. Han Minyu heard about the incident and laughed so hard he cried. Then he had an idea. Within a month, he had created a show called Humans Are Weird. It was broadcast across the galaxy, and it became the most popular program in known space. Each episode showed Minyu explaining normal human behavior to increasingly horrified alien audiences. He demonstrated coffee. He explained spicy food. He showed videos of people running marathons, climbing mountains, and jumping out of airplanes. He talked about how humans used to hunt animals by simply following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. "Wait," an alien host had interrupted during one broadcast. "You didn't chase them down quickly, you just followed for hours, days." "Sometimes days, yeah," Minyu had replied cheerfully. "We're not the fastest, but we don't stop. Eventually, everything else gets tired, we don't." The host had ended the show early, claiming technical difficulties. Minyu knew she was just scared. While Minyu became famous, others were doing more serious work. Ambassador Lee arrived at Nexus Prime, the galaxy's largest neutral station, on a cold Tuesday morning. He was there to establish Earth's first permanent embassy, and he knew it would not be easy. Alien diplomats did not like him. He was too direct. He said what he meant. He refused to play their games of hints and suggestions and hidden meanings. During his first council meeting, a representative from the spent 20 minutes giving a speech full of metaphors and indirect references. Listened patiently. When the speech ended, he stood up. "I have no idea what you just said," he announced. "On Earth, we have a saying, say what you mean. If you want something from us, ask. If you're threatening us, say so. If you're offering friendship, tell us clearly. This dancing around the point wastes everyone's time." The council was shocked. No one spoke to them like that. But 3 days later, the representative approached privately. "Your way is strange," she said, "but it is also refreshing. Perhaps we can talk more." It was the beginning of many such conversations. Also introduced the galaxy to poker. He taught the game to a group of diplomats during a long negotiation break. Within months, humans dominated every gambling establishment in known space. "How do you keep winning?" a frustrated hegemony officer demanded after losing his 5th game in a row. Smiled, "We lie with our faces, you can't." While built bridges, was building starships. Her team had reverse-engineered alien faster-than-light technology in 8 months. It had taken most species centuries to do the same. Now they were making it better. The first human starship was called the Persistence. It was smaller than alien vessels and less elegant, but it worked. Its maiden voyage took it to a distant star system and back in record time. When it returned, announced their discovery, a new fuel source that improved engine efficiency by 300%. The galactic scientific community lost their minds. "How?" a researcher demanded during a conference. "How did you find this? We've been studying fuel technologies for." Shrugged, "We looked where you didn't. You all assumed certain approaches wouldn't work, so you never tried them. We don't make assumptions, we test everything." The researcher sat down heavily. "You've been in space for 1 year. 1 year, and you've already changed propulsion science." "Give us another year," said with a grin. "We're just getting started." But not all discoveries were happy ones. Had been digging through ancient council records, searching for information about the quarantine. Helped her, using her software skills to decode protected files. What they found changed everything. "It wasn't just Earth," said, her voice shaking. "There are others, dozens of other species sealed away in quarantine zones across the galaxy. The Council has been doing this for tens of thousands of years." Stared at the data on her screen. Why would they hide so many species? Power pulled up more files. "Look at this. Every quarantine species showed unusual potential. Rapid advancement, creative thinking, strong social bonds. The Council was afraid of competition, so they locked away anyone who might challenge them." "And who gave them the authority to do this?" Pointed to a name that appeared again and again in the oldest records. "High Arbiter. He's the head of galactic law. He's been alive for over 50,000 years, and he's been making these decisions since the beginning." Sat back in her chair. Her mind was racing. This was bigger than Earth. This was bigger than the hegemony. This was a conspiracy that had shaped the entire galaxy for longer than human civilization had existed. "We need to tell," she said. "We need to tell everyone," replied, "but carefully, if finds out we know." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. That night couldn't sleep. She stood at her window in the embassy quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, entire species were trapped, waiting for rescue. Entire civilizations had been erased from history. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from. "I found more names, more zones, more victims. This goes deeper than I imagined." Typed back, "Then we dig deeper together." She looked at the stars again. Humanity had wanted to join the galaxy. Now it seemed like the galaxy needed humanity to save it. She smiled grimly. They were going to need more coffee. 3 years had passed since the portal opened. In that time, humanity had done what the galaxy feared most. They had made friends. The Liberation Coalition started small. Earth reached out to the first quarantine zone they found, a planet called 4 where a species of brilliant engineers had been trapped for 6,000 years. When they learned they were not alone, they wept. Then came a species that could survive in space without suits. The Council had quarantined them for being too adaptable. Then the Chorus, a hive-minded species that shared thoughts and feelings. The Council had feared their unity. One by one, Ambassador Lee found them, freed them, and welcomed them into the coalition. Within 2 years, 30 species stood together, united by one simple truth. They had all been betrayed by the galaxy that should have welcomed them. Now they wanted justice. The trial was held in the Grand Chamber of Nexus Prime, the largest hall in known space. It could hold 100,000 beings, and today, every seat was filled. High Arbiter sat on his ancient throne, looking down at the coalition representatives with cold, silicon eyes. He was the oldest living being in the galaxy, a creature of crystal and light who had shaped galactic law for 50,000 years. "This trial is absurd," he declared. "I have maintained peace for longer than your species have existed. The quarantine protocols saved the galaxy from chaos." Ambassador stood at the coalition's podium. He looked small against the massive chamber, but his voice carried to every corner. "Save the galaxy from what?" he asked. "From progress, from change, from species who might have challenged your power. From instability, from war, from the destruction that comes when too many strong species compete." "You mean from equality?" shook his head. "You weren't protecting the galaxy. You were protecting your position, and you were willing to imprison billions of people to do it." The chamber erupted in arguments. Supporters shouted denials. Coalition members demanded justice. Who had switched sides after learning the truth tried to restore order. Finally raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. "We have evidence," he said. "We have documents, we have testimony, but more than that, we have something the Council has never understood." He gestured to the coalition members filling half the chamber. "We have each other, 30 species working together because that's what we do. We make friends, we build families. We don't abandon people just because it's convenient." He turned to face directly. "You thought we were dangerous because we adapt quickly. You thought we were threatening because we don't give up. But you missed the most dangerous thing about us." "And what is that?" "We care about strangers, about enemies, about anyone who needs help. You locked us away because you saw our potential for destruction, but you never saw our potential for connection. That's why you lost before this trial even started." The witnesses came forward one by one. Park spoke first. He was no longer just a tired doctor from Seoul. He was known across the galaxy as the Doctor, the human who had saved an alien's life without hesitation. 3 years ago, a stranger fell in front of me," he said. "She was injured, she was different, she was clearly not from Earth. And my first thought, my only thought, was to help her. That's not unusual for humans, that's who we are." Spoke about human innovation. "We reverse-engineered faster-than-light travel in 8 months. We improved fuel efficiency by 300% in our first year, but we didn't keep it for ourselves. We shared it with everyone, because that's how progress works. You lift others up and everyone rises together." Han Minyu spoke about human spirit. "We're not perfect. We fight, we argue, we make mistakes, but we also laugh at ourselves. We celebrate our weirdness. We drink poison for energy and eat pain for flavor and run until our bodies break just to prove we can. And somehow that makes us happy." Finally stepped forward. Beside her stood the alien who had started everything. "I was just a software engineer," said. "I never expected to be part of history, but when needed help translating, I helped. When she needed a friend, I was there. That's not special. Any human would have done the same." Spoke next. "I opened the portal by accident. I broke the law. I thought I had doomed an innocent species to destruction. Instead, I gave them a chance to save the galaxy." She looked at with those golden eyes full of gratitude. "Humans don't just adapt to the galaxy. They make it better. They made me better." The final vote was not close. High Arbiter was removed from power. The quarantine protocols were abolished permanently. Every sealed zone would be opened. Every hidden species would be freed. And Earth was granted full membership in a reformed galactic unity, with a permanent seat on the new council. In the celebration that followed, found standing alone on a balcony, looking at the stars. "You did it," said. "You changed everything." Shook his head. "We just reminded everyone of something they forgot. The galaxy isn't about power or control or keeping others down. It's about connection. It's about building something together. We spent 12,000 years terrified of what humans would do if released. We never imagined you would make us better." Smiled. "That's because you thought of us as a threat. We thought of you as neighbors." Across the galaxy, Han Minyu's final broadcast played on every screen. "So here we are," he said, grinning into the camera. 3 years ago, nobody knew we existed. Now we're helping run the galaxy. Not because we conquered anyone. Not because we're the strongest but because we showed up, we helped, and we refused to give up." He spread his arms wide. "We're human. We break things, we fix things, and we never ever quit. Welcome to the neighborhood." On Earth, Park watched the broadcast from his new clinic on Nexus Prime. Aliens of a dozen species sat in his waiting room, trusting a human doctor with their lives. On the Persistence, charted a course to the next quarantine zone. 50 more species waited to be freed. In the embassy, Ambassador poured 2 cups of coffee and handed one too. "You'll get used to the taste," he promised. And in a small apartment on Nexus Prime and sat together, watching the stars through a window. They had become more than friends over the past 3 years. They had become family. "Do you ever regret it?" asked, opening the portal. Took her hand. "It was the best mistake I ever made." Outside, the galaxy stretched endless and full of possibility. New species were waking up. New friendships were forming. New adventures were beginning. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.